It is that time of year again where we go endurance racing here in the ARLA Elite Series presented by Smash Beer. This year we are at the Pocono Raceway to celebrate Independence Day with a 776-kilometer race around the 2.5-mile triangle. And with nobody guaranteed a spot in the field coming into this weekend, a lot of the heavy hitters failed to qualify. Power Steering Incorporated entered 5 cars. They all failed to make the show. Rachel Rainsford, who was second in points, was caught up in an accident in her qualifier, the same accident that wiped out Kevin Monroe's chances to make the field. Alex Carson not only failed to make the race, but he's going to have to sit out for about a month after this incident. Watch Bill Calhoun in the 31. He hooks Makoto Yamada into the 2 car. Carson goes hard into that wall protruding from the infield and took Mo Lester in the 619 completely by surprise. Everyone else in this wreck was okay, but unfortunately Carson, as you said, is going to have to miss about a month due to his injuries. Now back to those who made the race and who didn't. Championship leader Taylor Brillen is looking to have a field day as she qualified for the race, while Rachel Rainsford and Britt Tyler, second and third in points, missed the show. And now we take you down to the pit lane where the cars are all sitting on the grid. We will take you through the starting lineup. On the pole is 54-year-old Kendall Brillen, making a very big splash in his return to the series. The father of current points leader Taylor Brillen won the Rockford 200 all the way back in 1996. On his outside is doppelgang driver George Bryan. On the outside of row number 2 is farce driver Amy Porter, making her first start in the series. Joseph Howard and Tanner Clayson are in row 3. Craig Yonser on the inside of row 4 is also making his first start in the series. Row 5 will be Brenda Riggs and Jill Rodriguez. Kuriki Itsuno and Richard Scott make up row 6. Row 7 will be Leslie Riggs and Ryan Matthews. Jim Hayes, who won 2 races this year, is on the inside of row 8 with Lev Azarov on his outside. Azarov was on the pole for the Crayola Grand Prix a month ago. Jesus Ignacio Chavez III and Cyrus Laterza are row 9. Row 10, we have Anthony Weepers and Cameron Taylor. Weepers is driving the only car with an L3 engine in the field. Back in row 13 is the 789 of Luke Ocean, making his first start in the series. Row 14, Radomir Stanichev, the second Rusada Sport car, and Hazel May Fratton. Row 15, we have Barton Sandy and Mayor Alex Witt from Columbia Speedway in South Carolina. Allie Riggs and points leader Taylor Brillen make up row 16. Row 17, we have Will Ashmore making his first start in the series, and Brian George in the other doppelgang car. And starting in the rear of the field due to driver changes, we have Aaron Singer, Kelly Splicen, and Caden Beckett. Beckett, the 14-year-old sim racer, is making his first start in the series. He initially failed to qualify for the race, but he bought Chris Johans' spot in the field. He will be starting in last. The pace car pulls off the track and the green flag is out. Kendall Brillen will lead the field to the start of the Stars and Stripes 776. And he pulls ahead of George Bryan, coming out of turn 3 and down the long front straightaway to take the green flag. Amy Porter, the T3, shoots to the outside, trying to make something happen up there, and the field fans out in the mad dash down into turn number 1. Lucas Sweeney and George Bryan fighting for second place, entering the first corner, and we already have trouble. Barton Sandy gets turned around and backs that 92 car into the wall. This is going to be a very long race, but I would have been surprised if we didn't have trouble with the way the field was scrambling into the first corner. Now let's have a look at the aerial shot. Barton Sandy was already 3 wide with Alex Witt and Taylor Brillen. Allie Riggs squeezes in there, tries to make it 4 wide, and Bobby Porteau sticks his nose in there as well. So that was going to be an accident no matter what, and Barton Sandy was unfortunately on the receiving end of that. This is going to be quite the long day for him. Coming back to the caution, Craig Yonser and Joel Rodriguez enter turn 3 wide and find themselves in the wall. Craig Yonser, who has competed on and off in the Team Master Cup Series, is making his first ARLA start, and it appears that he still has some learning to do in these cars. While under caution, Anthony Weepers has to drop out of the race. Weepers made a hero of himself, finishing second in his qualifying race with an L3 engine. Ryan Matthews in the 116 blew up under caution as well. The entire field pitted under that yellow. Kendall Brillen is still the leader. Ashley Tucker, car number 90 for Bjorn Green Racing, is up to second place. Kendall Brillen, as we mentioned earlier, won the 1996 Rockford 200. He is driving in a car owned by family friend Arnold Pine. Brillon also drove an Arnold Pine car when he was competing on and off in the series in the mid-90s, and we are now 3 wide for the lead as Lucas Sweeney has a look on the bottom. Ashley Tucker, car 90, had a run on Brillon coming to the end of the front stretch, and they are still holding it together. Brenda and Leslie Riggs, the mother-daughter duo, right behind them. Kendall Brillon starts to slip back a bit. I think he is backing out of this hairy situation, and he leaves Sweeney and Tucker to duel for the lead themselves. Cyrus Laterza, Tanner Clayson, and Cameron Taylor are up in the top 10 as well. Cameron Taylor, a TM Lights regular, is making his first start as Ashley Tucker finds herself in the wall. This gives Lucas Sweeney what he needs to clear the field and take the lead. Trey Ashby, car number 12 for Brinson Engineering, is done on lap number 7. Kendall Brillon has slipped back to 10th place. Evidently, the Arnold Pine crew left this car alone ever since pole qualifying, and the engine goes on car number 20. Kendall Brillon is out of the race on lap number 9 after a very promising start in his return to the series. He has not competed in a race since 1997, and 16 years later, his comeback is going to be a disappointment. Oh, get out of the racing line. Please don't make me regret praising you. Caden Beckett, car 383, also has a problem, but we believe that it's a tire that's gone down on that car. Casey Lester in his cell phone 55 car also has a tire go down. He brings that car into the pits. Lester, making just his 3rd start in the ARLA Elite Series presented by Smash Beer, is looking to make this his first finish, but that's not going to happen today as his car goes up in smoke as he exits the pit lane. Another disappointing result for Casey Lester. Caden Beckett, out of the pits, is well off the pace, and here he is going a lap down. I do hope that whatever money Beckett, or rather Beckett's parents, paid to get Chris Johannes' spot in the field, I do hope it was worth it to Allie Riggs Racing, because Beckett is just being a nuisance right now. And apparently he has been intolerable to listen to on the scanners. Brenda Riggs, car number 67 for M&J Racing, has made her way up to 2nd place. Brenda Riggs got her first ARLA Elite Series win at this track all the way back in 2009, but that was only a 40-lap race back then, so we'll have to see if the 58-year-old matriarch of the Riggs clan can go the extra distance today. And behind Riggs, Jesus Ignacio Chavez III is trying to hold off Ashley Tucker. Cameron Taylor has to hit the pit lane for a flat tire. He's going to go a lap down. Cameron Taylor won a TM Lights race last year. He's still competing in the TM Lights today. Craig Yonser, car number 69, finds the wall again. He's back in the 18th spot, so he seems to be struggling with that 69 car. And entering turn number 3, he runs the corner wide and hits the wall again. I wonder if something's wrong with that car. I believe he may have a tire going down, as Yonser decides to hit the pit lane on this lap, but he misses the pit entrance, and he doesn't seem to be paying any attention at all as he hits the wall again. So when he comes around next time by, he's going to lose even more time. Taylor Brillon has made her way up to 4th place. We're only 18 laps in, and Brillon has rocketed through the field after starting all the way back in 32nd, as Joseph Howard in car number 17 has blown up entering the first corner. Howard came into this race 5th in points, looking to capitalize on some of his rivals not being in this race, but that all comes to an end less than 20 laps in. This ought to make his teammate, Jim Hayes, rather nervous. Jim Hayes is competing for Rookie of the Year honors this year. He already has 2 wins, as well as the victory in the Rookie Shootout, although he's fallen into a bit of a slump. He's trying his best to recover from that. He finished 2nd at Montmagny after being put into the wall by a lapped car. Speaking of lapped cars, here is Aaron Singer in car number 1 going a lap down. Singer failed to qualify for the race, but his teammate Seth Wesley gave up his spot in the field so Singer could get in. This is good for Singer and his family sponsor, but bad for the rest of the field, who is going to have to deal with him all day, as Singer now starts holding up Tanner Clayson. Namimura goes by. Luke Ocean, the 789, goes by as well. Ocean having a respectable run in the opening laps. Barton Sandy in car number 92 gets in the way now. Although Sandy, unlike some other people in the field, is off the pace due to damage and not because of any sort of lack of talent. Barton Sandy has been very fast this year when things go right for him. Sandy is not scheduled to run every race this year, although I wouldn't be surprised if he pulled out a victory at some point. Lev Azarov, car 82, falls off the pace. He's got a problem of some kind. Azarov was scored in 12th last time by. A very good run for the 82 car in these opening laps suddenly turns sour as Jim Hayes rockets by the 64 of Taylor Brillin for second place around the outside of turn 3. He has now caught up to Lucas Sweeney as the field laps Caden Beckett once again. Jim Hayes is not quite able to make a move on Lucas Sweeney entering turn 3. Taylor Brillin holds station in 3rd, and Kiriki Itsuno in the 4 holds 4th. Caution 2 comes out as Tanner Clayson blows up on the front stretch, and he comes to a stop right next to the pit wall, so they would be able to get that car off the track very quickly. Cyrus Laterza, car 75, has a problem coming out of the pits. He holds up a few cars, not knowing whether to pass him, as Taylor Brillin crashes into the back of Lucy Barnton in car 84. The points leader doesn't seem to be paying any attention at all and plows right into the back of the 84. Cameron Taylor just barely squeezes by. Barton was certainly slow as she was stuck behind the 75 car, but there was no way that Taylor Brillin didn't see her, as engine problems now claim the 77 of Jim Hayes, so that's both Tom Delgado Racing cars out of the race early on. Hayes was running in second place before the caution. Will Ashmore, car number 06, gets slammed into by Lucy Barnton. Will Ashmore is going to go out of the race after an incident not of his own doing, as he was putting on a respectable run, and Taylor Brillin crashes into the 84 car again. This is getting ridiculous. Lucy Barnton came flying in and smashed into the back of Ashmore as she was being waved around him, and Taylor Brillin came flying in and crashed into her stationary car. Barnton and Brillin would both go out of the race, as Brillin makes this her first DNF of the year, as Ashley Tucker tries to make a move for the pit lane, but Cameron Taylor is in the way. Ashley Tucker is evidently not paying any attention either. Tucker, Barnton, and Brillin would all be summoned to race control after the race. After a quick stop, Brenda Riggs is in the lead of the race. Allie Riggs right behind her. Lev Azarov in the 82 is the first car one lap down. And in third place to see Jesus Ignacio Chavez III. The Mexican driver has been doing a very good job hanging around in the top 5 all day, as he tries to make a move around the outside of Ali Riggs for second, and you saw Kiriki Itsuno right up next to the wall coming down the front stretch, trying to find an advantage anywhere she can, as it's now 3 wide behind these 67. Brenda Riggs trying to pull away from the field, as Luke Ocean has blown up in the 789 car, and he almost gets taken out by Barton Sandy. Luke Ocean was scored in 7th place last time by, as you see Brian George, car number 01, blow up as well. 2 engine failures at the same time. With the rate of mechanical problems that we've had today, I would be very surprised if anyone was left in the race, as Cameron Taylor has now blown up. Cameron Taylor running a lap down, trying to salvage any position he can, but it just wasn't meant to be, as Taylor is going to draw the 3rd caution. There's simply too much fluid on the track at this point. Brenda Riggs continues to lead on the restart. Barton Sandy, the first car to line up on that inside, but he's very slow, and he's going to hold several people up as Riggs gets away at the line. Oh, Allie Riggs, running second, has now blown up, and she gets turned by Kelly Splice, and in the 44, Craig Yonser around. Several cars in the wall, a big crash down in turn number 1. Caden Beckett slams into the 44 car. Splicen was running in the top 10 before this. Craig Yonser, Richard Scott, and Namimura would go out of the race as well. Allie Riggs blows up and starts holding up the rest of the field, and everyone just stacks up from there. Caden Beckett came flying in and hammered into the side of the 44. Bobby Porteau in car 74 got a big piece of this as well. Porteau is out of the race as well, but that's the story of that team's year. Mayor Alex Witt stays out while the rest of the field pits. Witt leads on the restart. Witt was given the nickname Mayor by those at Columbia Speedway in South Carolina, where he has many feature wins and track championships, and now he is getting some screen time in one of the Ike Durbin cars, the only Ike Durbin car to qualify for this race. And we are now about to see how he's going to hold up against the regulars in the ARLA Elite Series presented by Smash Beer. Brenda Riggs, car 67, bearing down on the 48. She pulls to his inside. Coming down the backstretch, the 67 car appears to be faster, and on newer tires, I don't think she's going to have a problem clearing the 48. Witt may have been able to stand a chance if the whole field had been on older tires, as passing has proven to be difficult, especially on the low side, as we get later and later into the run. George Bryan, the outside pole sitter, holding his own in the top 5 right now. Bryan is probably a bit nervous about his car holding out to the finish with his teammate Brian George blowing up not too long ago. We now go over to Ashley Tucker in car number 90 for Bjorn Green Racing. Of course, she was called to race control after that incident under caution with Cameron Taylor. Tucker is currently running in 9th place, and I believe she's the highest driver in the point standings still in the race. So she's definitely in position to capitalize on the failures of her championship rivals all throughout the week. Here's Nick Howard running in 6th place, so George Bryan not paying attention to his mirrors. He pulls into the side of the 859 and puts both Howard and Hazel May Fratton in the wall. Nick Howard trying to gather it back up as quickly as he can, but the damage to the 97 of Fratton appears to be a little more severe as she's falling back more quickly. Fratton off to a good start to this race otherwise. She has a few top 10 finishes this year, and of course Nick Howard has that win at Grand Detour. Jason Bates powers by Chavez for 2nd place. Bates is currently the fastest car on the track. The 51 has come to life ever since the last restart. Bates, of course, driving one of the 2 Kurt Walker cars in this race. The other, driven by Namimura, is out. So Bates is the last hope for Kurt Walker to get a good finish out of this day, as he is chasing down Brenda Riggs, and it didn't take long for Bates to get right on the back bumper of the 67. He makes a move, but as these tires wear out, passing is going to be more and more difficult, as Bates just found out. Riggs able to pull ahead of the 51 ever so slightly out of turn 1. Bates working to catch back up to the 67. Now Bates has never won a race in ARLA competition. Radomir Stanichev still doing a very good job for Rus Autosport, as his teammate Lev Azarov is currently off the lead lap. Stanichev working on Chavez for the 3rd spot, with Casey Campbell and Lucas Sweeney bearing down. Kiriki Itsuno has lost the pack. She didn't get into an incident of any kind. I think the 4 car may be down on power. Kiriki Itsuno is driving the only Racers with Disabilities car in the race. Edwin Schwarzlowski failed to qualify in the 707, which is the highest of those team cars in the points. There was talk of putting Hitsuno in the 707 for this race because she's sharing that car for the championship with Edwin Schwarzlowski, but pressure from Yotsuba Insurance Corporation forced the team to leave her in the 4 for this race, as Nick Howard went a lap down, making an unscheduled pit stop. He had a tire go down, and he dives into turn 3 and takes out the 48 of Alex Witt. Nick Howard trying to get by the lead lap cars on newer tires, just drove in there a little bit too deep and put himself and Mayor Witt into the wall. Brenda Riggs continues to lead the race until the engine goes on car number 67. What a disappointment for Riggs, who was on her way to potentially dominating this race, but The car just wasn't going to hold out for the distance. This leaves Leslie Riggs as the only M&J car left in the race. Jesus Ignacio Chavez III leads on the restart after beating everyone else out of the pit lane. Casey Campbell, car 422, is in second. Brian George third. Jason Bates, who took over the lead when Brenda Riggs fell out, is now back to fourth. But Bates would soon make his way back to the front of the field. He's right on the bumper of the 35, trying to mount a charge on the outside, but he's now facing pressure for that spot from Casey Campbell. Alex Witt, the 48, back up into fifth place with a heavily damaged rear end. Good job by the 48 crew to get that car back out there and remain in contention for a top 5, as Bates successfully holds off Campbell for second. The top 3 would soon break away from the field. Chavez continues to lead the race. Bates second, Campbell third. Working lap 75 of 193, the race is starting to mellow out a bit. Hopefully we can get a good green flag run in as we start to approach the hour-and-a-half mark. The network is hoping that we can get this race in under 3.5 hours so that we don't roll into Winsloth's Attack's time slot. Anyway, Chavez remains unchallenged for the lead at the moment. Bates and Campbell hanging back, waiting to make a move. Aaron Singer in car number 1 has blown up to the delight of the rest of the field. I believe that he's going to be the last of the obscenely slow cars to go out of the race. Casey Campbell mounts a charge on Jason Bates for the second spot, going around car 51 on the outside of turn 2. We haven't seen too many people actively make passes around the outside, but Campbell made great use of it, and now she's right on the back bumper of the 35 car. That 422 did appear to be much faster than the 51 anyway, and I think she's faster than the 35. Green Racing is looking to bounce back after Todd Stater's accident at Grand Detour a few months ago. The leaders hit pit road on lap number 86. We haven't really seen too many people play pit strategy games. Ashley Tucker and Alex Witt, 4th and 5th, are going to follow suit. George Bryan has blown up at the end of lap number 86 as well, so that's both of the Doppelgang cars out of the race after a very promising week for them. Hazel May Fratton, car 97, is out of the race as well. Fratton was falling back a bit. She was scored in 12th place the last time around. Chavez now holds a commanding lead after pit stops cycle out. After seeing how fast he's been this week, it is very hard to believe that Chavez has less than a year of experience driving race cars. Alex Witt, after a very fast pit stop by the 48 crew, is back up into third. Mayor Witt is doing a very good job persevering after all that damage that he got, and if that 48 car holds out and he keeps up his pace, this could be the best finish for Ike Durbin Incorporated this season, as Ashley Tucker has blown up. She comes to a stop on the track. That was on lap number 88. Casey Campbell has taken the lead after the field pitted under that caution, and you can see that there are only 10 cars left in the race. We are just a few laps shy of halfway, so we're either expecting a very clean race from now on, or nobody's going to finish. Mayor Witt has a problem after the restart. He brings the 48 car in, but it turns out that they've got a terminal mechanical failure on that car. Mayor Witt goes out of the race after a very good start. We do hope to see him back in an ARLA car in the near future, as we now have 3 wide for the lead. Radomir Stanichev and Chavez going by Casey Campbell. Campbell falls back to third, while Stanichev and Chavez continue to duel for the lead down the back straightaway. Lucas Sweeney in car number 8 is creeping up as well, challenging Campbell for third. Chavez trying to hold off Stanichev on the outside, but on newer tires, I think Stanichev might have the edge, though Chavez is doing his best to hold him off. Campbell runs the corner wide, gives way to Sweeney. Sweeney sneaks by Chavez for the second spot, and he is now neck and neck with Stanichev coming down the front stretch. Jason Bates, car 51, trying to make his way back up to the front as well. And Kiriki Itsuno in car number 4 is keeping up with the pack after this restart, so whatever problems that the 4 team had, it seems that they have resolved those. Nick Howard in car number 859 is off the lead lap, but he's hanging on to this lead pack. Howard, despite being a lap down, is currently in the top 10. Lucas Sweeney has taken the lead from Radomir Stanichev and has quickly opened up a gap of about 4 seconds over the 28 car, and then from the 28 car, it's about 3 seconds back to the other leaders. Lucas Sweeney, who has not won a race since Talladega in 2011, has come to life during this run. Casey Campbell hits the pit lane for more scheduled pit stops. Lucas Sweeney follows suit a couple laps later. Stanichev follows Sweeney in on the same lap. Now that we've gotten some longer runs in, it seems that these cars are able to get about between 25 and 28 laps on a tank of fuel. Lucas Sweeney has a very slow stop and loses out to Radomir Stanichev and Jesus Ignacio Chavez III. So now Sweeney has a bit more work to do to try to get himself back into the lead. But the leader is going to be Casey Campbell in the Ford 22 car. Campbell holds a very big lead over everyone else right now. The 422 crew was on it on that last round of stops. Joel Rodriguez, car 85, is now out of the race. He was tootling around in 10th place a few laps down. He fell off the pace early and was never able to recover. Disappointment for the 85 crew as Lucas Sweeney now has a problem. That 8 car comes to a stop out of turn number 2. Sweeney, who had one of the fastest cars at this point of the race, is going to fall a couple laps down after being towed back to the pits. Although he will continue the race, he is the first car on the inside on the restart. Jesus Ignacio Chavez III is the leader. Although Chavez is now facing pressure from Radomir Stanichev, we got trouble in the back. Jason Bates fell off a bit after having a very fast car. He's not paying attention to his mirrors on the restart. Washes right up into Lev Azarov and Nick Howard, taking all 3 cars into the wall. The caution comes out immediately. More disappointment for Jason Bates, as it seems that the 51 car dropped a cylinder after that last round of stops. Casey Campbell stayed out under caution while everyone else pitted. She is now the leader on the restart. Chavez second, Stanichev third, and Kiriki Itsuno is 4th. Those 4 cars are the last of the cars on the lead lap. Going into turn 1, it is 3 wide behind Campbell as Nick Howard shoves Chavez wide. Radomir Stanichev gets himself into a bit of a 4 wide situation. Very hairy, some contact with Leslie Riggs, but they get everything straightened out. Stanichev is now going to try for second as Chavez gets held up by the 859, and that is Lev Azarov in between Stanichev and leader Casey Campbell. Azarov has been trying all day to get back on the lead lap ever since having a tire go down. Azarov has been fast enough to keep up with the leaders. Kiriki Itsuno gets into the wall in turn 3 while running 3 wide with Chavez and Lucas Sweeney, who's trying to get back on the lead lap himself. Itsuno, who won at Daytona earlier in the year, is now guaranteed a top 5 if her car holds up. Stanichev is going for the lead now. He's got a very good run, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it stick. Campbell pulls ahead of him, coming out of turn number 1. Stanichev now coming under attack from Lucas Sweeney, who's still a couple laps down. Jesus Ignacio Chavez III has slipped back to 4th, and the engine goes on car 35. With less than 60 laps to go, Chavez is blown up after a fantastic race. That's got to be gut-wrenching for Chavez and the Fernando's Chicken team. They had a car that was potentially capable of winning this race. This is only going to leave 3 cars on the lead lap. Kiriki Itsuno comes after Casey Campbell for the lead, but then she gets held up by the 51 of Jason Bates, who is well off the pace at this point. Bates had a very fast car earlier in the race, but of course he was plagued by mechanical problems and is left just riding around trying to salvage a good finish. In the meantime, this is the battle for 4th as Lev Azarov tries to hold off Leslie Riggs. Lev Azarov had a tire go down and fell off the lead lap. Leslie Riggs, on the other hand, got collected in that whole mess where Lucy Barnton and Taylor Brillin were crashing into everything under yellow, and she fell off the lead lap because of that. The leaders all hit the pit lane on lap 146. We're still not seeing anyone playing with pit strategy much. Everyone's on the same page, as Casey Campbell now pulls out to a commanding lead over Radomir Stanichev. The 422 crew very fast once again. Campbell is looking to be untouchable if she and her crew keep up this performance, as we are now under 50 laps to go. The battle for fourth heats up between Leslie Riggs and Lev Azarov. Remember that both of these cars are a lap down, but they're still competing for top fives. That's what endurance racing in ARLA is about. It's just about surviving the distance and picking up the pieces after others don't. But Leslie Riggs has a problem. The 50 car is slowing. She gets booted out of the way by Radomir Stanichev, who's still running in second place. But Leslie Riggs definitely has a problem with that car. Lev Azarov blows up now. The Rus Autosport bunch is not known for their mechanical ingenuity. Some would be surprised that both of their cars are still running at this point. Well, were. Lev Azarov, still a very disappointing end to the race for him. Casey Campbell comes into the pits on lap number 169, just outside the window of being able to safely make it to the end. Radomir Stanichev and Kiriki Itsuno all in on lap 169 as well. So all three of the leaders may potentially have to pit again unless we see some gambling take place. In the meantime, Casey Campbell increases her lead over Radomir Stanichev. It is now up to about a 20-second gap back to the 28 car. Casey Campbell is kicking everyone's teeth in this last third of the race. Radomir Stanichev still running in second place. He's got quite the gap of his own over Kiriki Itsuno. With no real battles taking place on the track, it is all about getting your car to the end at this point and continuing to take advantage of those who may still break down. Kiriki Itsuno, car number 4, back to third place. We are approaching 20 laps to go now. Kiriki Itsuno is looking at her best finish since she won at Daytona earlier in the year. Radomir Stanichev and Casey Campbell looking for their best finishes of the year as well. Nick Howard has picked up 4th place. He is still a couple laps down at this point. Duckrell Development has been subject to a bit of controversy this year, as a few team owners came out and accused the team of withholding testing and research data that gives them an advantage. Duckrell Tires, the official tire supplier of ARLA, of course, fields that team for research and development purposes. So it's kind of easy to see where those accusations come from, but regardless, the 859 has been doing very well this year. Casey Campbell continues to hold the lead, coming to 2 laps to go. So Campbell and the 422 have survived up until this point. She just needs a couple more laps, but Campbell is pitting. Fuel is an issue as Campbell peels off into the pits. Radomir Stanichev is about 28 seconds behind at this point. We're about to see if Stanichev's going to stay out and potentially take the lead from Campbell, but again, he is very far back. Coming off of the final corner, Stanichev is going to pull into the pits as well. He's not going to make the gamble. Kiriki Itsuno, car 4, comes in on the same lap as well. These teams have decided that it's not worth it to gamble on fuel. They are very far back from their rivals anyway, so they might not even gain that much of an advantage from staying out and trying to save fuel. In the meantime, here comes Casey Campbell around the final corner. After 3 hours and 20 minutes of racing, very few cars have been able to survive the distance, but Casey Campbell emerges victorious among those that do. And she gives Green Racing a much-needed morale boost after Todd Stater's accident. Radomir Stanichev and Kiriki Itsuno, despite being so far back, managed to hang on to the lead lap. Lucas Sweeney was the first car off the lead lap. He's 2 laps down. Leslie Riggs was 4 laps down. Jason Bates 5 laps down. And Barton Sandy was the last car to finish. He crossed the line 6 laps off the pace. After that lap 1 wreck, Barton Sandy just drove around, running his own race, and picking up the pieces after the failures of so many other cars. Beckett, Ocean, and Taylor all making their first ARLA starts. They all fell out of the race 25th through 27th. Lucy Barton and Taylor Brillin scored 34 and 33 points respectively. Although that could change, I would be very surprised if they did not get penalized. And Anthony Weepers brings up the rear of the field. However, that was not an indication of how well he did in the qualifiers, considering that he was driving a 2012 Team Thunder car with an L3 engine. Looking at the standings, Taylor Brillin increases her lead to 95 points, although the new second place car is the 422 shared by Casey Campbell and Todd Stater. That car is still a shared championship effort, even though Casey Campbell will be in that car for the rest of the year. Leslie Riggs and the Roos Autosport 82 were able to vault themselves into the top 10 after the failures of some of their championship rivals. Allie Riggs is up to 14th place. Barton Sandy made a huge jump up into 18th place. Lucy Barton gains on her teammate Ramsey Conkener, who failed to make the race. Herbie Finkelberg, Kyle Gaffigan, Barry McIntyre all failed to make the show. Jason Bates, who did make the race and finished well, climbs up the point standings. Nick Howard, who fell out of the race late in the going, jumps up to 33rd. Alex Carson is back to 35th. He's going to miss about a month of racing due to his injuries. And Lenore Scurry is going to round out the top 40. Be sure to join us next time as we go dirt racing in Buffalo, Wyoming for the M. Fenton's Summer Special.